Good morning. God bless you. We are back. It's day 16 in our challenge. I'm excited because we are moving forward. We are preparing ourselves for the next move of God. We cannot make our next move until we're aware of the Lord's next move. And so, thank you all for meeting me this morning. I know some of you all are on your way to work, you're on your way to school, or maybe you're dropping your kids off to school, about to get up and about, go to the gym, whatever it is. Thank you for meeting me. God's going to meet us. All right. We're continuing to work through this acronym MOVE. MOVE. Week 1 was mindset. Week 2 was order. And last night we started talking about vision. Vision. We understand that God is the one who gives vision. We don't manufacture or create vision. Vision comes from the Lord. Vision is redemptive revelation. It is not our ideas or our ambitions or our goals. It is when God speaks to us and lets us see what He's doing. And when we know what God is saying, we know what we should be doing. And today, we are getting into what are the practices that we need to implement in order to catch vision and revelation from the Lord. And the first practice that we're going to talk about is the practice of silence. It is the practice of silence. Psalm 62:1 says, "My soul waits in silence for God only. From Him is my salvation." Now, this text is written by David, and the scholarly consensus is that David wrote this later in his life. This is not shepherd boy David. This is not David running from Saul, running for his life from the spear. This is not David before or after he fights Goliath. This is not David when he's, running from cave to cave. This is David later in life, more than likely. It is David right about 2 Samuel 15 through 18, chapters 15 through 18, when Absalom, his son, is rebelling against him. Okay, there's political pressure. He speaks of a threat. There's a threat that's come against him. There is pressure on every side. There's the pressure of having the right military strategy. There's the pressure of consolidating power. There's the pressure of knowing what to do, how to engage with this, not just on a political level, but a family level, right? So he's facing all of the stress of a busy leader. Is what David is going through. And what David decides in this moment is that he's going to practice silence so that he can increase his awareness of what God wants to do. Now, many of us struggle with this, I know, because we say to ourselves, well, I don't have time to waste. I don't know what sitting in silence is going to do. I could be praying, I could be reading the word, I could be developing a plan. You need to know this. Silence is not empty time. It is expectant trust. Silence is not passive, it is active. It is the posture. Remember, we talked about posture yesterday. It is the posture of one who has come to the place of knowing that what they need can only be spoken or done by the Lord. It is the posture of one who recognizes that God is the most important source I need to tap into right now. So David says, I'm going to take some time and sit in silence. My soul is going to wait in silence. I don't want to speak to a general. I don't want to speak to a planner. I don't want to speak to the council. I'm going to sit before the Lord in silence. Let's break this down. What does he do? What are the things we need to do in order to embrace the practice of silence? Remember that song? Stop, look, listen to your heart, hear what it's saying. Stop. That's the practice. All right. Number 1, stop. Stop. Just stop. Stop, because he says, my soul waits in silence. He chooses restraint. Practicing silence is not an accident. It has to be deliberate. It is a waiting and it is active, but it is not hurried. You're choosing not to react. You're choosing not to defend. You're choosing not to do more work. You're choosing not to grasp for control. You pause, you withdraw from work, you withdraw from speaking, you withdraw from deciding, you withdraw from fixing, you withdraw from performing, and you stop. Silence starts with stopping. Okay? That's number one. And then number two, you got to look, because he says, my soul waits in silence. So he doesn't say, there's a decree, the nation is going to stop. He doesn't say the nation needs to be in silence. He doesn't say to his court, we're all going to be in silence. He doesn't go on TV and, from the White House and says, we're all going to be silent. No, he says, my soul, which means he's attending to his inner life. This is not situational or circumstantial. He's saying, this is me internally. My thoughts, my feelings, my intentions are going to sit and stop and wait. And I'm not going to be driven by external pressure, but I'm going to make my focus my internal posture. I'm going to look within. I'm going to say to my soul, hey, whatever I'm thinking, feeling, and thinking about doing, we're going to wait until God brings us awareness before we do anything. My soul is not active. And I'm going to pay attention to what is happening and to what God is doing. And then thirdly, you got to listen. Just stop, look, and listen, because he says, my soul waits for God only. He says, I'm not waiting on a strategy. I'm not waiting on a plan. I'm not waiting on outcomes. I'm waiting on God. I'm not waiting for more money. I'm not waiting for direction. I'm waiting for God, because God, I'm in a situation where I need God to God. I'm turning my attention to God, and I'm not going to prescribe to God what I want God to do. When you enter into silence, you're entering without an agenda. You're entering without an objective. You're simply posturing yourself before God in quiet space. Because from him, David says, is my salvation. I got to say something hard to you. Our inability to sit in silence often exposes where we really believe salvation lies. If we can't sit still, stop, be quiet, we can't take a day off, we can't take an hour to go somewhere and be silent in the car or in our office, part of what we're saying is, I have to save myself. I have to defend myself. I have to protect myself. Because when you sit in silence, it is active and expectant trust. I'm not saved by what I do. I'm not saved by what I say. I'm saved by what happens when I sit and let the Lord speak. So this is what I want you to do today. I want you to stop. I want you to find a place to stop. And when you stop, I want you to look within. This is not about what's going on around you. This is about what's going on within you. And I want you to wait on the Lord, not with a request, not with an ask, not with an agenda. Just wait. Take your journal in there, because remember, you started journaling 2 weeks ago, or your notes or whatever. And if the Lord speaks, because you're going to expect him to speak, write down what comes. Write down what you realize. Write down what awareness comes to you. Write down images, words, thoughts. Write down scriptures that come to mind. Because God will begin to reveal. But we have to have the restraint to sit in silence and to wait for him. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to practice the silence. Find some time during your day to do this. Maybe when you get in the car before you leave work, do it. When you get home, recess to your room, do it. Go to a quiet place and sit in silence before the Lord. I'll see you tomorrow, 7 a.m., right back here. We'll move on to the next practice. I'm excited about it because I think it's going to help you get the revelation you need from the Lord. All right. Talk to y'all then. Take care. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.